I had some life changes at that point that really made me reevaluate what was important to me, and I wanted something that was fulfilling. I wanted something that was meaningful and purposeful that I was driven to do. What we do is not transactional, it's interaction, it's relational. 3 months into our opening, we had a flood. There goes my business, here's all the stuff we put energy into, I have to close the door, we've been open for 3 months. If you will continue to fight for your limitations and excuses, you will always get them. That just hit hard, but you're right. I can do this, and I will build it, and I will figure it out on the way down if I have to. I've made a lot of mistakes over the years, but I think the biggest thing was learning to invest in my people.
Welcome back to another episode of the Beyond the Scale podcast. I'm your host, Katherine. And are you ready to dive into why community and culture is at the forefront of our business? Well, this episode is going to be all about that today. I have the great pleasure of sitting down with Ryan, who is a certified exercise physiologist who holds a master's degree in exercise science and is also a certified nutrition coach, mindset, and hormone specialist through the Nutrition Coaching Institute. He has been operating Lyndhurst Fit Body Bootcamp in Cleveland, Ohio for the last 8.5 years, and his location has become a standout in his community. In addition to operating his facility, he serves as the Franchise Advisory Council Secretary in 2023 and is now the president of the FAC in 2024. He has built a team of like-minded individuals who help carry out the mission of creating impact in changing lives by focusing heavily on the culture within his four walls. This positive and welcoming culture has allowed his location to help thousands of individuals of varying ages, shapes, and fitness levels improve their overall health, wellness, and quality of life. Whether it's the pounds lost, medications decreased, self-esteem boosted, or the strength built, his client's success is his #1 goal. Ryan has been featured on Fox 8 News in Cleveland and has spoken for various audiences, including medical practitioners, educators, leadership groups, and students to create awareness surrounding health and fitness, as well as culture, communication, and inclusivity. The core values that have shaped the foundation of his facility are people first, growth always, game day every day, lead stronger, and love louder. So welcome, Ryan, to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, well, that was quite an intro. We're going to dive into everything related to community and culture today. But before we get started, because I have not had you on the podcast before, and I know a lot about you, but our viewers do not, I just kind of want to know how you got into the fitness space in the first place over 9 years ago.
Absolutely. Fitness and even, sports was a huge part of my life growing up as a kid. And when I went to college, I think a lot of, lane changes occur and some people stay active or they have different, opportunities, things like that. I stepped away from organized sports and I actually had gained, most people talk about, freshman 15. I had freshman 30 by Thanksgiving freshman year.
Oh, wow.
And I think, kind of going through that journey and whatnot, kind of falling back into my own fitness. And then over the years, recognizing where people just needed help, because I think there's a variety of reasons that someone feels uncomfortable in their skin. And knowing what that feels like, on my end for, again, a variety of reasons, I wanted to be able to connect with people and figuring out how do we improve their life, how do we build back self-esteem and confidence, because that's how you show up everywhere.
Yeah.
And I think fitness is the avenue to so many different platforms of how we show up in our daily life.
Yeah, definitely. And were you involved in your campus fitness center in college, or what was your fitness routine like back in the day? Because I love to hear how it all started with, because some people are like, oh, I was an avid runner, I was an avid power lifter. What was your workouts like?
It's interesting because I always had organized sports, so it wasn't, I didn't get into purposeful training until a different stage. So, you're in college, you're up late studying or ordering pizza and drive, you eat like a garbage.
Right.
I think at a certain point I was like, things aren't fitting, I'm uncomfortable, I'm, carrying a backpack and loading through campus. I'm like, this is miserable.
Yeah.
So I kind of, started developing a routine. The Student Recreation Sports Center, the SRSC, was about, a 10, 12-minute walk from my dorm, and just started, putting the pieces together again. But I think what was helpful for me is having the accountability and structure of a team. Doing it on your own, there's a different feel.
Oh, definitely.
There's a different energy, engagement, or lack thereof.
Yeah.
So, it was definitely challenging to work that into balancing school, different activities and other things, but it was important enough to me to put my foot on the gas to show up better and feel better for everything.
Yeah. Well, and don't you think that like when you're in college, it almost takes a little bit level of maturity to realize these things like, okay, I can't do this forever. I can't eat pizza forever like this. Like I have to take care of my body. I feel like crap. What am I going to do about it?
Absolutely. But I think there's like different levels of self-awareness
Right.
as you mature or not.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to see like where we kind of trip over the truth of like, I made these choices or I've done certain things. I can make different choices for a different outcome.
Yeah.
But I think being accountable and having a strategy or a structure or someone to be like, hey, you need to show up to do things you need to do on the days you don't want to do them.
Right.
We had coaches for sports with that, but like, how do we do that in a fitness world
Right.
outside of that?
Yeah, and we'll get to that in a second
Sure.
because that's what you live for today. So you graduate from college.
Yeah.
How did you, I know this story, but our listeners do not. How did you find Fit Body?
So it's really interesting. I had gone a different route from undergrad. I was curious and interested in a few different angles of career. I was in music marketing for a couple of years, and I had some life changes at that point that really made me reevaluate what was important to me. And I wanted something that was fulfilling. I wanted something that was meaningful and purposeful that I was driven to do. I went back to school a couple of years after and did my master's in exercise science. And I had been working at the Cleveland Clinic. I did exercise prescription for chronic disease patients at the Wellness Institute, but I started my own private training business concurrently.
Yeah.
I started following Bedros on YouTube. And then, getting into my private training little by little, it's like, you hit a ceiling or there's a stagnancy or there's got to be more, like it gets monotonous. So I flew out for Fitness Business Summit in Orange County, and my dad actually came with me. He's like, I want to support you. What are you into? What's going on? Like, let's see where this goes.
Yeah.
And I had joined Bedros' 7-figure mastermind coaching program on the spot. I met Joan that day. We still have I still text her and say hi, like it's fun, but like she remembers me and my dad doing this together because she's like, your dad was awesome. He wanted to support you and see what you were doing. And I started looking into like, what are my next steps in my career? And I talked to a bunch of Fit Body owners. I was exposed to different things, visited different locations, and pulled the trigger with Fit Body. In September of 2015, I signed my lease in October of 15. We were open December 5th of 2015.
Wow. Now I want to unpack something because for many listeners, I feel like right now, as we're recording this, it's 2024. There are so many conferences, summits, things that people can attend now since COVID.
Absolutely.
That are similar to what it sounds like you went to back in 2015, trying to sell the dream, sell this new business model, a new opportunity.
Yeah.
And here you were, you're a few years out of college, out of grad school, training one-on-one, right? And you had some sort of belief in yourself in order to sign up for something like that, a 7-figure mastermind, when you weren't making 7 figures at the time, right?
God, no. You saw people up on stage like, that are making, 6 figures. They're like,
Yeah.
how is that possible?
Right.
But again, like they don't, it's like, what's behind the green curtain? How do people get there?
Right.
You want to believe in something that has value and something that has integrity and something that you can put your name behind or stand behind. And I think for me, Fit Body was a way of doing it quicker. I didn't need my name on the wall. I didn't need
Right.
it didn't need to be my call. Like I just wanted to figure out how do I quickly help more people? How do I find something that I get excited about doing in a way that I've not done before?
Yeah.
It scared the heck out of me.
Yeah.
My dad's like, I'll pay your fee. You'll pay mine to enter. And we're like credit card.
Yeah.
Cool. Good luck. But yeah, you kind of like build your parachute on the way down, but if you can find someone that can time collapse the journey and who has been on it or help you avoid some of the friction points and potholes that they went through, there's value in coaching. There's value
Definitely.
in the proximity to people that are doing what you're doing and possibly doing better.
Right.
That will help you build it. I've stumbled numerous times.
Yeah.
I'll still keep doing it. My goal is to not make the same mistake twice.
Right. Yeah, I just love that you mentioned that though, because I feel like today there's so many people walking around and they're seeing the messaging on social media and they're saying to themselves, I could never do that. And you had this belief in yourself, and you surrounded yourself with people who were doing it. So they were proof that if they could do it, then you could do it. And so I think sometimes there's just so many people that they're putting themselves in that situation that you were in, but they're not taking that leap of faith. And I just think it's so great that you did that. And then, look where it's gotten you almost a decade later. And so you open up your first location. Talk about those first few months, that first year.
Man, how much time do you have? So it's interesting. We opened December 5th, 2015. It was just me at that point, and you have this idea of like what this will be like, or what what to expect. And my first thought was, oh crap, what if no one comes? And then I'm like, oh crap, what if everyone comes? Mm-hmm. I had one person who was like, part-time, just helping. I didn't know what to expect, what I needed, but there was a lot of just, hey, bare bones, build the skeleton and structure to things. We opened and began to build slowly. I had 4 morning sessions, 3 afternoon. You're giving guidance, but knowing your area, knowing the population, knowing the community, and who you're trying to work with, you figure out what works well with where we are. And I think if you lead with connection and seeing people and making sure that they know that there's someone on the other end that cares, what we do is not transactional, it's interaction, it's relational. And especially when it comes to somebody's time and health and safety, we're creating an experience.
Right.
I think, how do I want someone to treat my mom if they were to walk in? How do I want someone to treat my partner or best friend? Or that's how you have to view it, because at the same time, we talk about it, people are a product. We're in theory selling ourselves, but how do we show up to walk the walk that someone's like, I believe in you, or I think you can solve my problem, or I trust you? It's humbling.
Yeah.
Because I did it with patients at the clinic, and it's funny. My mom, in her eyes, I'll always be her child, of course. But here's someone who doesn't trust me with a crayon and still thinks I'm 6, and the clinic gives me patience. I'm like, weird, but I can do this.
Yeah.
And I will build it, and I will figure it out on the way down if I have to. 3 months into our opening, we had a flood.
Oh, wow.
My entire location perimeter was cut 2 inches up, drywall around everything, because I came in, my floors were squish, squish, float.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, there goes my business. Here's all the stuff we put energy into. I have to close the door. We've been open for 3 months.
Right.
And it was right upon the Fitness Business Summit coming for that year. And I was up for Trainer of the Year. I was up for awards, all these things for just growth and doing stuff within the first year of all this happening. I'm like, I feel like an imposter because I'm about to close my location. This is we put out messages, and the coolest thing happened. Members showed up. They're like, do you need help? Can I bring you coffee? Do you need lunch? What can we do? It wasn't like pitchforks and anger that we have to close. They're like, we have made enough of an impact in those first couple months together that they care about wanting to help. They want this facility that they've made their second home to be okay, so they can come back to it.
Yeah.
So people were dropping off coffee, and they're like, hey, do you need a plumber? Do you need a drywall guy? That gave me so much reassurance that whatever we were doing at that point, we're doing something well. I've made a lot of mistakes over the years, but I think the biggest thing was learning to invest in my people and the people that are taking care of our fitness family. Yeah. I built it slowly. My head coach, who's been with me now for almost eight years, we did grad school together. When I started doing this, when that flood happened, I called Julie. I was like, hey, I don't know what you were doing. I'm supposed to leave for a conference. My gym isn't, she was going to cover. It was crazy, but we just little by little started doing it together, and she brings something amazing to our people. And I think if we can create that energy and create that vibe of excitement, people want to be part of a winning team. People want to feel part of something. When you go into a restaurant, your favorite space, there's an energy. You can't necessarily describe it, but you feel it.
Right.
That's what I want every time someone walks in the door and they're like, I can see myself here, or I fit in here, because people are uncomfortable in their skin, or they're having a bad day, or they're fighting with their kids, or their dog poops on the floor, or their boss is 30 minutes of theirs. How do you make that magic every time? And when they see somewhere that's welcoming, that is supportive, that ages, shape, size, fitness levels, background, like everybody. I want Fit Body to be a place for everybody. And for us, that is so important in authenticity and who we are and how we represent that, because I think there's such a cookie cutter feel for so many in this part of the industry. I mean, you mentioned, there's a lot out there, not right or wrong, but how do we separate ourselves from the same thing?
Right.
And yeah.
I think that's the number one question that I get from someone who hasn't been a client at FitBody is what sets you guys apart? What's different between FitBody Bootcamp and all these other bootcamp style boutique fitness studios?
Yep.
And that's the first thing, as I say, is we focus on our people. We are in the people business, and we want people to come here and it feel like their safe space. We want it to be like when you go to your favorite spa and you get a massage and you're laying there on that table and you're just like, oh, this is the best hour ever. I never want to leave. We want our clients to experience that every single time they come to boot camp. And it's not just the workout. Like, you and I know that. Like, we are fitness people. We can work out anywhere.
Yeah.
And there's so many people, too, that I'm finding that are clients at the gym that are self-motivated, but they come for the laughs. They come for the smiles.
Yeah.
They come for that energy that they're going to leave with.
Yes.
It's not the workout.
No.
And in the world that we live in today, I feel like we're living in an age where we're so connected but disconnected at the same time, and people are craving that connectiveness. And so it's like, where can you find that?
Yeah.
And people are finding that at boot camp, and that's what you're cultivating, is that feeling of the community. So can you talk to us about, over the last decade, I know, because I've had multiple locations of my own, that we can do everything in our power to cultivate this positive environment, and then something happens,
Always.
whether it's COVID or you have 10 new clients that just aren't a cultural fit, and you're literally questioning everything you've ever done, everything you've ever built, and you feel like you have to start from scratch almost.
Yeah.
How have you, over the years, helped continue to spark new community and new feelings of that positive energy and culture in your location over the last decade?
I think you nailed it with something, and I'm going to touch upon, is in a space, especially in the last couple of years, and COVID, and even before, like, everyone's like, oh, people are just craving attention. I'm like, they don't want attention, they want connection. And there's a difference. And it's knowing someone's name when they walk in the front door, or where their kids go to school, or when so-and-so just got married, like, you're gonna get a birthday card from us before your family.
Yeah.
Like, that's how we will show up.
Yeah.
But making people feel seen and understand that, like you said, it's not just a workout. And it sounds crazy to say, given that, the field that we're in. Right. I'm not competing on workouts. The magic is what happens the other 23 and a half hours of their day in staying connected, knowing that someone's on the other end of the phone, or the text message, or the card, or this strategy session, or whatever it may be. Because if we can solve problems in their day, their lives get better. But we can't do that and have the hard conversations if we can't create trust.
Yeah.
And a lot of the conversations we get into, the value is in that magic time between sessions, when you get to say hi, when you get to high five, when you get to hear about somebody's day. But you have to start compartmentalizing and adding to that when someone's like, oh yeah, I just got this job promotion, or going through a rough time. And like, what does it mean for someone to get a message, being like, hey, I'm just checking on you. I know yesterday was a rough day.
Yeah.
How's today? That's intentionality. That is mindfulness. You can't manufacture that. You win with the inefficiencies. It's not batch texting 475 people.
No.
Have a great day, fill in the blank name.
Yeah. Right. When that's not a genuine, like,
that breaks
organic
trust so quickly.
Right.
And especially now, it's like AI and bots. Like, we'll follow up with somebody who had put in an inquiry or filled out something online, and I'll lead with, hey, this is Ryan, I saw you're interested. Parentheses, yes, I'm a real person. I'm a consumer.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Right? But I think there's vulnerability in connecting with people, and they want to know who they're doing business with, or who they're trusting, or their safety and their time and their health, and where they choose to spend money and energy. And like, I think I wrote this to you when you asked, and I'll be very vulnerable with you, of, is there anything off limits? And when, as we were talking, I said, sometimes I think that a story not shared is a life not changed, or a life not saved. And there are times and places for us to get very real with people, because most people go on this journey feel like an island. They're suffering in silence. They think they're the only one.
Mm-hmm.
They need to feel safe enough to open that conversation with us.
Right.
Because as we talk about in coaching, and what, Julie tells our coaches who she's, leading as well, be the reason someone comes back. Sometimes we are that best 30 minutes of their day that they can exhale and they know that they matter and somebody cares.
Yeah. Oh, I love that you mentioned that, because I'm just thinking about my mother as you're talking about this, because and I'm sure you could chime in on this,
Yeah.
I have found that there are a few generational gaps when it comes to how to communicate with your clients.
Oh, yeah.
What do they enjoy? How do they respond?
Yeah.
And so
Messaging and framework.
the messaging framework
Yeah.
is so funny. So my mother, she's a client at boot camp. She goes back and forth between boot camp forever and regular boot camp. She's been a client since I started this, 7 years ago. And she always is questioning, is that a real person texting me? And I'm like, yes, it's a real person.
Yeah.
And so she will call me sometimes. She's like, I just got this message. Do you think that they know I'm on vacation? And I'm like, yep, we have it in your chart that you're on vacation.
Yes.
And it's just so great. And for her, she's in her mid 50s, and she is so badly craving someone to just ask about her vacation, ask about her day, ask about how her nutrition plan's been going. Whereas my generation, I'm in my 30s, we might not care so much about those things, but we just want to chat. We just want to chat with somebody, because
Absolutely.
a lot of us, we work from home. We're just sitting behind our computer all day. And when we go to boot camp, that's our time to just let loose and chat with another mom who's probably going through potty training issues at home, just like I am. And I have really felt like, boot camp and gyms in general is like this conversational hub. It's this community that we all have been missing.
Yep.
And can you talk to a little bit about how, are there events that you do to keep the community going? What are some things that you do that are unique
For sure.
to continue to cultivate that on this conversation?
No, I love that you touched upon that. If you look at our population of, folks that we have a lot of mama bears.
Yeah.
We have a lot of educators, we have a lot of clinicians, we have a lot of, mental health, we have caretakers.
Mm-hmm.
Our 4 o'clock at 10, we call, our teacher happy hour. They will come at 3:30 just to be like,
off the clock.
It's an exhale.
Right.
But it's like a change of environment, it's a change of state, how they show up, their energy, they can just one space, one function.
Right.
They're not working from home and trying to homeschool their kids and try to work out from home and do a Zoom meeting. There's This is they know they can consistently rely on something, but they look forward to the people that they're with. And they've made friends there, or they bring their friends, and they can unpack their day and make it what they need, whether it is a physical, mental, or emotional space. We'll get text messages from people like, are there slam balls? Because I'm like, I will see you in 3 hours.
Wall balls today.
Yes, they're battle ropes, and they're just having a day. And if you can just meet them where they are and give them what they need. Sometimes they don't know what they need, or it's I didn't want to come today, but gosh, I am so glad I showed up.
Right.
I didn't realize how much I needed that. Or, hey, I've been on vacation, and I get a text from someone. She's like, I actually missed you guys. It sounds weird. I've missed boot camp. And this is someone who hasn't worked out ever, or hasn't moved in 26 years, and has 3 kids, and has not done a thing for herself. And she built it into her day, and is like, oh my God, I built a routine. I miss you guys.
Yeah. I love that. I like how you say, what'd you say? One function, one space?
One space, one function.
One function.
Especially with COVID and everything.
Right. I think that's very important to note, because I just did an episode about this the other day, how many moms my age and in the stage of life that I'm in, I have a 5-year-old, a 3-year-old, and there are days where I'll do a workout from home because I don't have childcare and I can't go to the gym without taking them, and I don't really want to take them with me, which they go with me a lot. But sometimes I just crave that time to myself where nobody is asking for anything from me. And I encourage women all the time, male or female, to try to get in boot camp sessions without the distractions. It's okay if your kids can come and they're old enough to contain themselves, but if you can have 3 to 4 days a week where you can just take those 30 minutes to yourself and, like you mentioned, compartmentalize that workout, just drown everything else out, I think that goes so far when it comes to your mental and physical health.
I think if, there's so much noise externally.
Right.
And people feel guilty taking time for themselves or like, oh, like I'm leaving, like I have a lot of people that come to our coffee crew at 5:30 in the morning. I'm like, they're caretakers, they're parents, like nobody needs you at 5:30 in the morning unless they're on fire.
Yeah.
And even then, they'll call someone else first.
Yeah.
Like make that a priority for you. And the one space, one function, there aren't other things to manage. And you mentioned, hey, can I bring my kids? Like it's not everyone's ideal.
Right.
Occasionally, yes, sit in the couch or we'll pull the corner, but like someone's like, can I bring them? I was like, let me ask you something very, honestly, would you be more worried about what's going on where they are? Does it take away from your experience?
Yeah.
I don't trust that they're not gonna, color or put their headphones in or be on a tablet, but you are going to more so worry about how they're doing, and we're creating the same problem that you have at home because you can't fully give your attention to one thing. And she's like, no one ever put it that way. I was like, so I'll see you at 5:30 in the morning. Great.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, like some moms, they need someone like you to kind of give them that little nudge, because we can use our kids as the excuse and the reason. And I can see both sides and I can support both sides. But sometimes there just becomes a point where you need to just make the decision to do it for yourself and no one else. And that's why we have the awesome coaches that we do at FitBody to remind our clients of that.
I made a comment to someone the other day who was like, well, I have this. I was like, can I be very honest with you and coming from like a very loving space on this? If you will continue to fight for your limitations and excuses, you will always get them. And she's like, that just hit hard, but you're right.
It's like I don't like that, but
I know.
thank you.
But you can't do that. You can't have those conversations without building rapport.
Right.
And I think what people miss is that they're not just coaching a workout. They're not telling someone to squat through their heels and tighten their core. Like, you're coaching them in life, whether you realize it or not.
Yeah.
But the conversations, like you mentioned, in the in-between, are coming to look for people and find connection or talk about someone else on their journey or celebrate their accomplishments or support during struggles. That's what we do. I don't take that for granted that somebody brings their trust or somebody wants to talk about something that's hard.
Yeah.
And you're on the front lines with them. My team, they show up, they're greeting them at the front door with a name, they're high-fiving, they're knowing their kids' names. When we were in COVID, we were online with everybody for quite some time.
Right.
And we looked at our screen, there's 27 boxes at 5:30 in the morning. Now we're starting to recognize people's, Emily's has a purple living room in their couch, and Mariah's in her living room, but her husband John is in the basement, but they're working out together in their home.
Right.
Their dog is named Wendell. But we began to know these things.
Right.
One point we had a running contest, who get Wendell to sit first, because they would play, they don't have the volume on the TV. We learn their dogs' names, we learn their kids' names. I'd be like, hey, what's Jay having for breakfast? Because every morning, Jen's son, Jay, would show us on the camera in Zoom.
Yeah.
What are we having for breakfast? That was our daily routine. But what does it mean to someone that's to know that, oh my God, you care about my kids? It isn't just like work out. Like, we call everyone out by name. We know they don't get that anywhere else.
No.
And when someone says they're looking for a workout, it doesn't make sense until they walk in what sets us apart.
Right.
But we need to know to have the right conversations, to ask the right questions, to make them understand. I can't help you if I can't get you through my door. And in my head, if I don't get you through my door, I'm setting you up for failure of, diabetes, blood. There's so many things.
Right.
I'm not doing my job if I can't stand behind and have that conversation well enough to get you to believe in yourself. I will believe in you hard enough until you pick that up, and so will my team. But in their head, it's just words because they've not experienced it.
Yeah. I just thought of this question off the cuff.
Sure.
So how do our coaches, I believe, set us apart from other fitness businesses? Because our coaches, as you've mentioned, we care so much.
Yeah.
However, many fitness coaches I have seen, they start in this industry because they had their own personal transformation in which they are so passionate about that they now want to share with other people. However, what we find is a lot of times these coaches are very focused on themselves. And it takes a little coaching, it takes a little practice, a little bit of education to make them understand this isn't about you anymore. This is about your clients. This is about our community. Like, yes, focus on yourself, but you also need to leave that at the door and just focus on our clients. How do you help your coaches accept that? Because I think many people listening to this podcast, they're either a client at the gym or they may be considering that next level. They might want to open their own gym, but they're thinking to themselves, how do I put that ego aside? How do I put everything that I've done to myself and the life experiences that I've had? aside and really focus on that person and invest in just them.
So I think you're one step ahead of someone thinking. They have to be self-aware to actually even think about, how do I set that aside?
Yeah.
Right? And we're dealing with people and personalities.
Right.
There's a difference of, hey, look at me versus how can I help you? And that's what I took from that question. And I think it's really interesting because we talk about always having, growth, and part of our core values are growth, always.
Yeah.
I invest in a lot of outside coaching. I invest in things that provide value to help my team develop in leadership, in culture, and service aptitude. And we talk about this regularly because when someone's like, oh, how was your weekend, blah, 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 like, it's our human nature is inherently selfish and not self-aware.
Right.
So we'd be like,
to
I
just
did.
tell you all about it. Yes.
Right. And, our personality types, depending on it, they will tell you everything.
Right.
But teaching my team to be like, hey, mine was fine. Tell me about yours. How do you turn it around? Because people want to talk about the most important thing to them is themselves.
Right.
But we have to be self-aware enough. As a leader, for me, I need to give my team the tools in their toolbox and equip them with the right verbiage and the right way to present and have those conversations. Otherwise, it just turns into the look at me show. But as a coach, it's hard because I'm telling them, I need you to throw a rock star concert that they want to come back to every time. So it's like pumping their personality, which is great. But they also have to learn how to pull it back. And there's a dichotomy that happens. But when you set them up with, the opportunity to lean into learning new skills and tools and put them in the room with people that will help them grow or connect them, it's a game changer.
Yeah.
And we've been doing that very heavily over the last couple years. There's a lot of turnover in, life with friends and things like that. You have it in business. But when you invest and put the right people in the right seats, that's when things start moving.
Yeah.
I'm very lucky to have the people I do. We've gone through different times and different chapters, and we've had turmoil.
Sure.
But I think if we can have healthy conversation and communicate, it starts there. But it bleeds from the top. It bleeds from me.
Yeah.
I can't expect them to show up at a level 10 if I'm showing up at a level 4.
Right.
But I can't lead other people if I can't lead myself. So it starts with me. And then we build from there of I have my coach here with me for certain things. I bring them for workshops or masterminds, or I send someone to Elite, or hey, I have a leadership coach that works with us, but I also work with my team.
Yeah.
Grow your people. The return on that investment, priceless.
Yeah. I think that speaks volumes because there aren't too many jobs out there. I mean, just thinking about a traditional common job. I mean, you go and you work 8 hours a day and you're spending all your time and energy investing in someone else, your patient, your client, whoever it is. And you feel like there's very little return, like there's no one investing in you. And I know that the way you're investing in your team speaks volumes, and that's how you're able to retain them. That's how you're able to inspire that coach to give that 5-star experience every single day, because you're investing in them on the back end. You're showing how much you care about them and how much you want them to succeed, and you're doing whatever you can to foster that relationship with them so that they then repeat that and they go do that with your clients. So I just
how
think
do they
that's
care
really
for
incredible.
people if they don't feel cared for?
Right.
So we've, kind of, it comes back to, we just redefined our values recently, and I did it with my head coach who's on a leadership team with me. People first.
Right.
And investing in our people. They need to know that someone cares about them. They need to know that why they're getting up, it's stupid in the morning. That there's a reason and they're connected to it. Because when someone messages and says, I'm off my blood pressure medication, or my A1C is now down, or I just put my socks on and got on the floor by the first time to play with my kids, or I got in the pool or took the ride, like, those are those messages that, like, that's what gets them out of bed. It's stupid in the morning.
Right. Oh, that's so amazing. Well, I want to leave our listeners with one last question. So if someone is listening to this today and they're thinking to themselves, like, I want so bad to be a part of a community like this. I just need somebody to help support me, and I don't even know where to get started. But, truthfully, they know where to get started. They're just telling themselves. They're just speaking that dialogue in their head that, like, oh, I'm too scared. I'm too scared. I don't want to do it. How would you inspire someone or motivate them to just take that first step and join a community like Fit Body?
I think most people that we meet, we don't meet them on their best day. We meet them when they're struggling and they're looking through a lens of fear and doubt and anxiety. They failed at everything, or why is this any different, or I don't have time, or there's a laundry list.
On and on, right.
And you know it, you hear it regularly.
Yeah.
I think there's been a broken mindset or belief system that they just can't do it, and they equate one experience with what everything else is going to be. Or my best friend's cousin's aunt's dog groomer down the street is doing, like, let's be honest.
The excuses
Yes.
go on and on.
I think being able to create conversation is the number one thing. It's communication, because you can't talk with somebody you can't build. So reaching out and understanding that there's someone on the other end of the line that if you can go into it thinking this could be the answer, this one step is a game changer from where I am.
Yeah.
And I ask them, point blank sometimes once we just have a conversation, it's, how has this been serving you so far? Like, what's not working? And they start to realize, we call it tripping over the truth. And I was like, great. Does it make sense for us just, to talk further in a place that is supportive, safe, welcoming, and warm? Because they have an idea that this is meathead and gym and competition, and like, not a right or wrong, but that's not what they want. Yeah, do we work, but do we have fun? Absolutely. Does someone check in after your first day? Yeah. Hey, what was your biggest win your first week?
Yeah.
Like, milestones, recognitions, like, that is family.
Right.
It's community. And if they can trust that the person that your front line of defense, whoever they speak to, message, walk in, talk to first, can people and do this, the sky's the limit.
Yeah.
We just need to get them to open that front door or click the button or make the call.
That's the hardest part, just walking through the front door.
Heaviest weight they're going to lift, right?
Yeah, it really is, because just thinking to my many years of being a coach and an owner, it's like you have these new people walk in every day and they come in and they have that fear on their face, and then they get through the workout, and at the end, it's like this weight has been lifted and they're like a transformed person after one session, because they realize everything that they were scared of was so small, and it wasn't worth the fear that they had.
They built a story, around in their head about it.
Yeah.
And like, feelings are valid, they're not fact.
Right.
So like, that lens is hard to look past. But if they walk in, they see there's people that like, oh, they're just like me.
Right.
Because the biggest thing that we get questions of is everybody this size
fit.
is already
Everyone's already
fit,
fit.
or this, like, are there people like me here?
Right.
Our banner in the window is our people. It is authentically us in our variety of our population, because like I said before, I want our fit body to be for every body. No one can take a look around the room and be like, there's no one like me here.
Yeah.
I guarantee you there are.
Yeah. Well, that's incredible. Well, Ryan, thank you so much. This was so awesome. Is there any pieces of like parting wisdom you want to leave for our listeners?
Honestly, the community aspect, I think it comes back to, we talk about core values and how we show up and creating a 5-star experience, but it starts with our people, which is why we have people first.
Yeah.
And for us, like I said, growth always, we're pouring into our people, we're pouring into the people they care for. It's our job to care for our people so they care for them.
Right.
And then if we show up with the mentality of game day every day, they're delivering consistency. And what people want right now is consistency. It's great if you can do something once and do it really awesome. How do you do it consistently?
Right.
It compounds. And then if we lead them the right way and love louder, that's who we are.
That's incredible. Wow. Community is everything. You heard it from the king of community himself. Where can everyone find you to learn more about all the amazing work you're doing and your Fit Body location?
Sure. Facebook for us, Lyndhurst Fit Body Bootcamp. It is connected to our Lyndhurst Fit Body on Instagram as well. You'll see a lot of the volunteer stuff, the donations, the community events, member appreciation stuff, and all the drives and collection stuff that we do there, and where we can celebrate and just get loud about it.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us for another episode of the Beyond the Scale podcast. As always, please make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, check us out on Apple Podcast and Spotify, and share this episode with all of your friends. Until next time, thanks so much.